Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, of course, we are going to be talking about the latest episode for My Hero Academia, which, like I've been saying for the past few episodes, this one wasn't very different from the actual manga. The most notable things to notice is that it's a lot more clear, I think, how manga's quirk works. A lot of the time that we actually get to see his quirk in action, it's very quick moments in the manga, most of which they don't really show exactly how he's doing it. Obviously, we know that he creates onomatopoeia things. Basically, the words come out into the real world causing chaos. Such as, he can say that something is humid, which will make it humid. He can say crash, bam, so many other things to make explosions and making a wall appear out of nowhere, basically. In the manga, even though it's, like I said, it's not very clear, with only, one scene actually showing this off. While in this one, actually in the episode, they make it a lot more clear, having multiple scenes, basically all but the first time that he uses it actually be moments where we actually see that he's saying the words, which, from what I understood before, when with the manga, he was actually writing these out in order to actually create them. But I must have misunderstood the actual thing. Also, another thing to note is that this was actually a lot shorter than I remembered it. A lot of these, I think that's another important thing to note, is that a lot of these episodes, a lot of these battles are a lot shorter than you may think. Considering the fact that this is actually about the same length as many other chapters in the past, or many other arcs in the past, it's kind of shocking how quickly these battles are actually going, with multiple of these battles only lasting like a few seconds, or only lasting enough time for maybe 1.5 episodes, which I have to say, rather interesting that the way that they're handling it. It's also important to note that this battle, when it starts in volume 21 and continues into volume 22 in the manga, which I took to understand, since that was one of the parts that stuck out the most to me. I thought that, oh, right, this must be one of the longer fights. But actually it's not. And on top of that, I actually I misremembered that this battle is actually the battle that 1A lost. That's actually a really important thing to note, is that most of these battles are actually won by Class 1A, which is kind of insane considering the fact that a lot of people are like, oh, this is going to be... A lot of Class B is thinking, oh, this might actually be close, but in actuality, it really wasn't. This battle was the one that they lost. The next one, I believe, is the one where they tie. Exact details, again, I should probably reread the manga before saying those statements, but considering the fact that soon we're going to be dealing with a lot of these really insane characters, such as Mudman, yeah, knowing the fact that there is the tie right around the corner, it's rather interesting. Now, the last big difference that I've noticed is actually been happening in a lot of the episodes. This one is more specific because of the fact that this is the one where Class B wins, but in the original manga, the joke where where he starts going off and is like, oh, I'm so proud of my kids, blah blah blah, well, and then the rest of and then Class 1A is like, stop with the bias. Stop with the bias commentary. That whole scene is a one-time gag. Obviously, they still have him saying all of these things, but it's still kind of interesting to know that it basically, in order to pad runtime, one of the ways that they did that was to make sure that that especially in this episode, they had multiple times where they would actually show that the class was really angry about how much Vlad King actually said multiple times and was like, "Oh my gosh, my kids are the best ones in the school, blah blah blah." And let's just be honest, being a bit of a dick. um and that's pretty much it. Like I said, this battle is pretty self-explanatory, with very little actually being added. um, and it's not really that surprising, but it is interesting because I really do hope that this is actually the battle that stands out to a lot of people, because it's important to note that Kendo realizes just what a different level Class A is. Even with this group, they came extremely close to beating them. And the only reason that that Class B won, again, keep that in mind, the only reason that Class A won and it was, or Class B won and it wasn't a tie, is because of the fact that they were able, that Shroom Girl, or I guess She-Mage is her hero name, was able to completely take down Fumikage by clogging his intake with spores. And she admits that this is something that she didn't want to do. And you'll see in the actual next episode, when everyone is recovering from this episode, that she actually takes the time to actually make sure that Tokoyami is okay. Because, yeah, he's not okay. But on top of that, he was able to, even with that, the three of them, with just have, if Momo had been able to last just a little bit longer, which, keep in mind, she was, she probably should have stocked up a bit more before actually going into this battle, but if she had, if she had stocked up a little bit more, or Tokoyami had taken out, had knocked She-Mage out, they would have won. Because the fact is that the only way that they were going to, that at this time, the only two people that were actually, the only person that was captured at the time was Aoyama. And in that time, in a very short amount of time, one, Momo got exhausted, which is understandable considering how her quirk works. She ran out of energy. That's just the simple fact of it. But many of the other characters also have these similar issues. I mean, the only one that was actually fully able to continue fighting was that of Hagakure, which, keep in mind that she was kind of not, she was kind of seeing red. So, I mean, sure, she could absolutely taken down Manga, but honestly, the big thing was going to be Tokoyami, since he now had those, since he more than likely could have gotten those two away, just sending Dark Shadow away with them. If, as long as, if he didn't start coughing and stuff, they would have won, because as soon as he sent, he would have sent Dark Shadow away, he could then go and help Hagakure, stopping everything, and basically grabbing Manga. The two of them run off, and even if Kendo was able to catch up with them, which, keep in mind, she's also having to drag Momo this entire time, just trying to get out of there. Yeah. If just those, if just taking out She-Mage instantly they would have won. And you can tell because of the fact that by the end of the battle, the people that look the most hurt are that of Class B. And basically the only reason that they win is because they happen to be the ones who are still standing. And also, Class A lost their weakest link really early. Let's just be clear, Aoyama is always going to be the weakest link. So the fact that they lost him so early caused them to fail, which is rather interesting, to say the least. And like I said, this is one of those battles that was really close. The only one that's going to be closer is, I believe, the next one, which I should actually check that before I actually say that. But if I'm remembering correctly, yep. This, next match. The literal next match. Everyone is exhausted. And that is how this battle is won. And also, another thing to keep in mind is that this is actually a really short battle now that I'm looking at it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more to it and stuff, but yeah. More than likely, that next arc, or that next chapter, will continue or that next episode, I guess, will be 2 episodes, just like the previous one, and more than likely, we're actually going to see a lot more of the continuation in the next episode of the difference in teaching styles between Aizawa and Vlad. Seeing how they actually talk to their students. Again, showing them that, hey, you made some mistakes, but you need to learn from them, with Aizawa, and Vlad just being, ha 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 ha, you finally won. Which, seriously, Monoma is not the worst anymore. I keep forgetting that that Vlad is actually a lot more interested in making sure that Class B gets the credit it deserves than Monoma, even. So, yeah. But that's not the point. The point is that this series is honestly so interesting that even slight changes can actually change how people look at these episodes a lot more than you may think. The fact is that, especially for this arc, having this just get animated adds so much to the story. Because the fact is that when doing a lot of these motions and stuff, usually in manga it takes a lot shorter of amount of time. It's one of the reasons why I actually prefer the anime for most fighting manga, or for most fighting series, over their manga. Jujutsu Kaisen, prefer the anime. My Hero Academia, prefer the anime. Even shows like Blue Exorcist, which I'll admit I haven't read that much of it, but I prefer the anime, even though it's very, very different to a lot of things compared to the manga. And there are many other examples of this. It's just a fact of how things get translated. And don't get me wrong, Horikoshi is a really good artist, as well as his team. But the fact is that you really can't show the insanity that goes on in a battle just by showing off in the actual manga panels. Even a light novels, for some degrees, can actually be better in that aspect, because of the fact that it actually causes different things to happen within your mind. Basically, you'll see images in your mind of just imagining how things will work in a light novel or just any book compared to that of a manga, where you actually see what's going on. There's obviously some slight movement in your eyes, or in your mind's eye, but it's still not to the same degree as what an anime can bring you. So, yeah. for just the simple fact, I think that the anime has really improved on this entire arc, and more than likely will improve on many of the arcs moving forward. Especially considering the fact that the war arc is absolutely insane, along with that of what is currently going on, which I am refusing to call anything but the Lone Wolf arc. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. If you are going to leave a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in your comment. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that notification bell, because it really does help us out a lot more than you may think. And on top of that, you can see our other content, including My Hero Academia, including Miraculous, My Hero Academia, other anime stuff, including that of Promised Neverland. Cough, cough. So, look forward to that in the next few days. Of course, if you do want to support the channel even more, though, also make sure to head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our social medias, our other channels, and ways you can support us financially, including the merch store, which we just got some new merch, so check that out. The book, as well as, of course, the Patreon, which a big thank you to our current patron, Sheedy. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!